The ship called Horizon dropped out of hyperspace, and Captain Park Do-hyun felt his stomach twist in the familiar way it always did after a jump. He gripped the armrest of his command chair and waited for the dizziness to pass. Around him, the bridge crew was already working at their stations, checking systems and scanning the space ahead. "Jump complete," Lieutenant Kang Sunwoo said from the communications console. "All systems normal. We are here, Captain." Do-hyun stood up slowly and walked to the main view screen. What he saw made him stop breathing for a moment. Volantos Prime hung in space like a jewel made of light. The station was massive, bigger than anything humans had ever built. It stretched for hundreds of kilometers in every direction, covered in towers and domes and docking rings that sparkled with the lights of 1,000 ships. Ships of every size and shape floated around it. Some looked like insects. Some looked like flowers. Some looked like nothing Do-hyun had ever seen before. "There must be hundreds of them," whispered Ensign No-hyun from the navigation station. Her voice was full of wonder. "Thousands," Do-hyun corrected her quietly. "Maybe more." The Horizon was small compared to these vessels. It was the first human ship to travel faster than light, built with technology they barely understood from signals they had captured 50 years ago. Earth had worked for half a century to build this ship and train this crew. They had sent their best people on a journey that everyone said was impossible. Now they were here. And they were very, very small. Ambassador Yoon Ji-yeon entered the bridge. She was a tall woman in her 50s, with gray streaks in her black hair and calm eyes that had seen many difficult situations. Before this mission, she had spent 30 years solving conflicts between nations. Now she had to speak for all of humanity. "Status?" she asked, her voice steady. "We have arrived at the coordinates from the broadcast," Sunwoo reported. "I am detecting communication signals on multiple frequencies. Most of them I cannot understand. But I am also detecting—" He paused, checking his screen again. "They know we are here, Ambassador. I am reading hundreds of scanning beams focused on our ship." "They are curious," Ji-yeon said. "That is natural. We are curious about them too." Do-hyun turned to look at her. "Ambassador, we should discuss our approach." "We do not know." A new voice cut through the bridge speakers. It was artificial, translated by the computer from an alien language. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered Galactic Council space. Identify yourself and state your origin." Everyone on the bridge went still. This was the moment. 50 years of work. 47 years of travel. The dreams of every human who had ever looked up at the stars. Ji-yeon walked forward and nodded to Sunwoo. He opened the channel. "This is Ambassador Yoon Ji-yeon of the planet Earth, representing the United Human Alliance. We received your general broadcast invitation 50 of our years ago. We have come in peace, seeking friendship and membership in the Galactic Council." Silence. It stretched for 10 seconds, 20, 30. Then the translated voice returned, and it sounded different now, uncertain. "Please repeat your origin world." "Earth," Ji-yeon said clearly. "Third planet from our star. You may know it by other names in your records." Another long pause. When the voice spoke again, it was barely a whisper. "Stand by." Do-hyun felt the tension on the bridge. His crew was looking at him, looking at the ambassador, looking at each other with wide eyes. Something was happening. Something they did not understand. Sunwoo suddenly leaned forward. "Captain, I am detecting a massive increase in communication traffic around the station. Thousands of signals. They are all talking about us. What are they saying?" Jean asked. Sunwoo listened through his earpiece, his face growing pale. "I am only catching fragments, Ambassador. But I keep hearing the same words repeated. Deathworld, Category 7, and—" He swallowed hard. "They are asking how we are still alive." Jian frowned. Death World? I do not understand. Before anyone could respond, the view screen lit up with new information. A docking path appeared, leading to one of the station's largest rings. The translated voice returned. Earth vessel, you are cleared to dock at Ring 7, May 42. A delegation will meet you. Please. The voice hesitated. Please inform us of any special environmental requirements. We wish to ensure your safety. Our safety? Do-Yoon said quietly. He did not like the sound of that .gyeon straightened her shoulders. We require a standard oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere. Temperature between 15 and 25 degrees. Standard gravity if possible. Understood. We will prepare. The channel closed. The horizon moved slowly toward the station. As they got closer, Do-Hyun could see alien faces in some of the windows they passed. Creatures of every shape and color were watching them, pressing against the glass, pointing. They are staring at us like we are ghosts, Ensign said. Maybe to them we are, Sunwoo replied quietly. If they really think our planet should have killed us. The ship entered the docking bay. Massive clamps reached out and grabbed the hull, pulling them into position with gentle precision. The engines went quiet. They had arrived. Jeon gathered her delegation in the main airlock. Besides herself, there was Captain Do-Yoon, Lieutenant Sunwoo, Dr. Bae Yoonji, the ship's physician, and Security Chief Han Taiwan. 5 humans to represent 8 billion. Remember, Jeon said softly, we do not know what to expect. We do not know their customs or their fears. But we know who we are. We are humans. We came here with hope, not weapons. With curiosity, not conquest. Let them see that. The airlock cycled. The outer door began to open. On the other side stood a group of aliens. Some were tall and thin like living trees. Some were short and covered in scales. One looked like it was made of flowing water held in a vague shape. They all had one thing in common. They were afraid. Jeon could see it in their body language, in the way they kept their distance from the airlock, in the way some of them trembled. These beings had traveled between stars. They had built wonders beyond human imagination. And they were afraid of 5 people from Earth. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. Her footsteps echoed in the silent bay. Thank you for receiving us, she said, her voice warm and calm. We have traveled a very long way to meet you. We hope this is the beginning of a great friendship. None of the aliens responded. They simply stared .gyo and kept her smile in place and gestured for her team to follow. Together, the 5 humans walked out of their ship and onto alien ground for the first time in history. The delegation led them through long corridors toward the Grand Assembly Hall. Everywhere they went, aliens stopped and stared. Conversations died. Movement ceased. It was like walking through a photograph where everything had frozen except for them. Finally, they reached a massive door that rose 30 meters high. It was covered in symbols from 100 different languages. The doors began to open, revealing the largest room any of them had ever seen. The Grand Assembly Hall was a dome of glass and light. Thousands of seats rose in circles around a central platform. Every seat was filled. 4,000 species, Jeon remembered from the briefing. 4,000 different peoples who had come together to govern the galaxy. And now, every single one of them was looking at the 5 humans walking through the door. The silence was complete. It pressed against them like a physical weight. Jeon walked forward, her head held high, her team behind her. She walked toward the center platform where a very old alien with silver skin and 2 many eyes waited for them. The silence stretched on. No one moved. No one spoke. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity had arrived. The quarters given to the human delegation were large and comfortable, but they felt like a prison. The doors were not locked, but guards stood outside at all times. Not to keep the humans in, Ambassador Yoon Ji-yeon realized. To keep others away from them, she stood at the window, looking out at the endless lights of Volantos Prime. Ships moved in the distance, carrying beings she would never meet. Somewhere out there, thousands of aliens were talking about her species, deciding their fate. The news is spreading, Lieutenant Kang Sunwoo said from behind her. He was sitting at a console, monitoring communications with the translation software they had brought from Earth. I am picking up broadcasts from dozens of networks. They are all talking about us. What are they saying? Captain Park Do-yeon asked. Sunwoo's face was troubled. Most of it is fear. They are calling us monsters, predators. Some are comparing us to the Wraith Tide that nearly destroyed the Council long ago. He paused. A few networks are showing clips of Earth's history, wars, weapons, hunting. They are using it as evidence that we are dangerous. We knew this would not be easy, Ji-yeon said quietly. We knew there would be resistance. This is more than resistance, Security Chief Han Taiwan said. He had been pacing the room like a caged animal. They are afraid of us. Truly afraid. I have seen fear before, Ambassador. I have seen it in the eyes of enemies and hostages and civilians caught in crossfire. But I have never seen an entire civilization afraid of 5 people. Dr. Bae Yoonji was sitting on a couch, reviewing the medical data she had collected from the alien who had fainted. They are so fragile, she said softly. Their bones are thin. Their skin is delicate. Their immune systems are weak compared to ours. To them we must seem. She stopped, searching for the right word. Indestructible, Do-yeon finished for her. Or unstoppable, Taiwan added darkly. A chime sounded at the door. Everyone tensed. Taiwan moved to a defensive position while Ji-yeon walked toward the entrance. The door opened to reveal a single alien. It was old. Ji-yeon could tell that immediately. Its body was covered in wrinkled purple skin, and it moved slowly, leaning on a staff made of some white material that might have been bone. But its eyes were bright and curious, and it did not seem afraid. Ambassador Yoon Ji-yeon? It asked. Its voice was soft and warm. Yes, and you are? I am Counselor Yeveth of the Fulani people. I have served on the council for 200 years. The alien glanced past her at the room beyond. May I enter? I find that important conversations are better had while sitting. Ji-yeon stepped aside. Of course, please. Yeveth walked into the room slowly. The other humans watched with caution, but the old alien paid them no attention. It made its way to a chair and sat down with a sigh of relief. Forgive an old creature its weakness, Yeveth said. These legs do not carry me as well as they once did. It looked around at the humans with those bright, curious eyes. You are smaller than I expected. The broadcasts make you seem like giants. We're just people, Ji-yeon said, sitting across from the counselor. Nothing more. Nothing more, Yeveth repeated with what might have been a smile. And yet you survived a Category 7 world. You built starships. You crossed the void between stars. You stand before us asking for friendship instead of demanding surrender. The alien leaned forward. Do you know how rare that is? You mentioned the Wraith Tide, Do-hyun said. What happened with them? Yeveth was quiet for a moment. When it spoke again, its voice was heavy with old grief. The Wraith Tide came from a world called Nexer, Category 7, like yours. They evolved as pack hunters, social creatures that worked together to bring down prey larger than themselves. When they discovered space travel, they saw the galaxy the same way they saw their home world. As hunting grounds. As territory to claim, they attacked the council? Yoonji asked. They consumed it, Yeveth said. Not immediately. At first, they seemed peaceful, curious, eager to trade and learn. But over time, their true nature emerged. They were patient predators. They waited until they understood our weaknesses, our divisions, our fears. And then they struck. The room was very quiet. How many died? Some asked softly. Billions, Yeveth replied. Entire species were wiped out. Worlds were burned. It took the combined might of every remaining civilization to stop them, and even then, it cost us dearly. The Wraith Tide was eventually destroyed, but the scars remain. The alien looked at each human in turn. So you must understand why your arrival causes such fear. We see in you the same strength, the same endurance, the same predatory origins. We see what you could become. But we are not them, Jian said firmly. We chose a different path. Did you? Yeveth asked. Your history is filled with violence. Your species has fought countless wars. You have weapons capable of destroying your own world. How are you different? Jian thought carefully before answering. We have made terrible mistakes, she admitted. We have hurt each other. We have damaged our world. But we have also learned from those mistakes. We built laws to protect the weak. We created medicine to heal the sick. We reached for the stars not to conquer them, but to find out what wonders waited in the darkness. She paused. The Wraith Tide saw the galaxy as hunting grounds. We see it as a garden we want to explore. Yeveth studied her for a long moment. Then it made a sound that the translator interpreted as a soft laugh. You speak well, Ambassador. But words are easy. Actions are harder. Then give us the chance to prove ourselves through actions, Do-Hyun said. Before Yeveth could respond, Sunwoo suddenly sat up straight at his console. Ambassador, there is an emergency broadcast on all channels. Something is happening. Show me, Sean said. The console displayed a news broadcast. An alien speaker was talking rapidly, and the translation scrolled across the screen. Jian read it with growing concern. A coalition of 12 species had filed a formal protest. They were demanding an emergency vote. They wanted the humans expelled from Council, space immediately, permanently. Any ship from Earth that entered their territory would be destroyed. Fleet Admiral Varax is leading the coalition. Yeveth said quietly, reading the same broadcast. He is Theshan. His people suffered greatly in the Wraith Tide War. He will never trust a Death World species. When is the vote? Jian asked. Tomorrow morning. The session has been called. Yeveth rose slowly from its chair. I came here to satisfy my curiosity, Ambassador. I wanted to see for myself what kind of creatures you were, whether you were monsters or something else. The alien paused at the door. I believe you may be something else. But belief is not enough. Tomorrow, you will need to convince thousands who do not want to be convinced. Will you speak for us? Yoonji asked. Yeveth turned back. I will speak the truth as I see it. Whether that helps you or not remains to be seen. The old alien walked out, leaving the humans alone with their fear. Jian looked at her team. They had come so far. They had dreamed so long. And now, everything depended on what happened tomorrow. We need to prepare, she said quietly. We need to find the words that will change their minds. And if we cannot? Taiwan asked. Jian did not answer. She did not know how to. Outside the window, the lights of Volanthos Prime continued to shine. 1,000 species going about their lives. None of them knowing that tomorrow they would decide if humanity had a place among the stars, or if Earth would remain alone forever. The silence in the Grand Assembly Hall was like nothing Ambassador Yoon Jian had ever experienced. She had faced hostile crowds before. She had walked into rooms full of people who wanted her to fail. But she had never felt anything like this. This was not hostility. This was fear. 4,000 species watched as the 5 humans walked toward the central platform. Jian could see them clearly now. Some were beautiful, with flowing forms and colors that seemed to shift like oil on water. Some were strange, with too many limbs or eyes in unexpected places. Some had no faces at all. But on every single one, she could read the same emotion. They were terrified. The old alien on the platform spoke first. His silver skin rippled as he moved, and his many eyes blinked in a pattern that Jian did not understand. When he spoke, the translation came through clearly, but with a slight tremor. I am High Arbiter Theseus of the Velmari people. I have served this council for 300 of your Earth years. I have welcomed many species to this hall. He paused, and his eyes moved across the human delegation one by one. But I have never welcomed anyone from a Category 7 world. Whispers exploded through the hall. The sound rose like wind through dead leaves. Jian heard the same words repeated over and over in dozens of translated languages. Death World. Category 7. Impossible. Forgive me, Jian said, keeping her voice calm and clear. But I do not understand. What is a Category 7 world? Theseus stared at her for a long moment. Then he gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the air between them. It showed a planet. It took Jian a moment to recognize it. Earth. Your world, Theseus said. Gravity at 1.0 standard units, which is 40% higher than the galactic average. Atmospheric oxygen at 21%, which is poisonous at such concentrations to most species. Temperature variations of over 100 degrees between seasons and regions. Tectonic instability causing constant earthquakes and volcanic activity. And perhaps most disturbing, he paused. An evolutionary history dominated by predation. Every creature on your world evolved either to kill or to avoid being killed. The hologram shifted, showing images that Jian recognized from Earth's history. Dinosaurs, tigers, sharks, and then humans. Ancient humans hunting with spears. Armies clashing in battle. Cities burning. This is a Category 7 world, Theseus continued. The highest danger classification in our records. Only 5 such worlds have ever been discovered. Only 2 developed intelligent life. Of those 2, one destroyed itself in nuclear fire. The other, he fell silent. The other? Captain Park Do-yen asked. The other became the Wraith Tide, a new voice called out. It came from a creature that looked like it was made of blue crystal. They nearly destroyed the council 8,000 years ago. We thought we had seen the last of Deathworld species. The whispers grew louder. Jian saw several delegates physically move away, pressing back in their seats as if trying to put more distance between themselves and the humans. A creature covered in silver scales approached the platform. Its body was long and thin, and it moved with a nervous energy that reminded Jian of a frightened animal. I am Delegate Marx of the Sindari Trade Federation, it said. Its voice was high and quick. I must ask, how? How did you survive your world? How are you standing here before us? The conditions on your planet should have killed you 1,000 times over. Jian looked at her team. Dr. Bei Yunji gave her a small nod of encouragement. Security Chief Han Taiwan stood straight and calm, showing no reaction to the fear around them. Lieutenant Kang Sunwoo was quietly recording everything for the ship's logs. Captain Do-hyun met her eyes with a steady gaze. She turned back to face the assembly. I am not sure I understand your question, Jian said honestly. Earth is our home. Yes, it has challenges. Yes, it can be dangerous. But it is also beautiful. We have mountains that touch the sky, oceans that stretch beyond the horizon, forests full of life and deserts painted in 100 colors. We love our world. She paused. Perhaps that is how we survived. We loved it too much to let it defeat us. The reaction was immediate. Gasps echoed through the hall. Several delegates made sounds that the translator could not process. Morix actually stumbled backward, its scales rippling in what might have been shock. "You love it?" Morix repeated. "You love a world that has killed billions of your kind throughout your history. A world where the very air and water can poison you. Where predators evolved specifically to eat your ancestors." "Yes," Jian said simply. "We do." A commotion erupted in one section of the hall. Jian turned to see a small alien with delicate wings collapsing, its body going limp as it fell from its seat. Other aliens rushed toward it, making sounds of alarm. Without thinking, Dr. Bei Yunji moved toward the fallen creature. "I am a physician," she called out. "Let me help." The aliens near the fallen delegate scattered like startled birds. They pressed against each other, trying to get away from the approaching human. Even the ones trying to help their colleague abandoned it, retreating until Yunji was left standing alone next to the unconscious alien. She knelt down slowly, her movements careful and non-threatening. The alien was small, barely reaching her waist. Its wings were thin and fragile, and its breathing was rapid and shallow. "It appears to be in shock," Yunji said calmly. She looked up at the watching crowd. "Please, does this species have any medical needs I should know about? I do not want to cause harm." No one answered. They just stared. Eung sighed and pulled out a small medical scanner from her kit. She ran it over the alien carefully, reading the results on her handheld display. Pulse is elevated but steady. No signs of physical injury. It seems to have fainted from stress. She looked around again. "It will be fine. It just needs rest and perhaps some water or whatever fluids your species drinks." Still, no one moved to help. Captain Do-hyun walked over to stand beside Yunji. Security Chief Han followed close behind. The three humans formed a protective circle around the fallen alien while the rest of the assembly watched in stunned silence. "We are not going to hurt anyone," Do-hyun said, his voice carrying across the hall. "We came here in peace. We came here hoping to find friends. Is this how the Galactic Council treats those who ask for friendship?" High Arbiter Theseus finally moved. He walked down from his platform, his many eyes fixed on the humans and the fallen delegate. His approach was slow and careful, as if he was walking toward a dangerous animal. "You must understand," Theseus said quietly. "We have only known 2 Death World species in our history. One destroyed itself. The other tried to destroy us. We have legends about worlds like yours. Stories we tell our children to frighten them. And now you are here, walking among us, breathing the same air. And we do not know what you want." "We want what everyone wants," Jian said softly. "We want to not be alone." Theseus stopped. His silver skin shifted through several colors before settling back to its normal shade. His many eyes blinked rapidly. "You crossed the stars," he said slowly, "because you did not want to be alone?" "Yes." The High Arbiter looked at the humans for a long moment. Then he looked at the fallen delegate, still cradled protectively by Dr. Bei. Then he looked out at the thousands of frightened faces watching from the assembly seats. "This session is suspended," he announced. "The humans will be given quarters in the diplomatic wing. Tomorrow, we will continue this discussion." He paused. "And perhaps by then, we will have found the courage to actually listen to what they have to say." Medical teams finally rushed forward to collect the fallen delegate. They gave the humans a wide space, moving around them like water flowing around stones. But Jian noticed something as they left. One of the medical workers, a young alien with soft gray fur, glanced back at Dr. Bei, and in its eyes, Jian saw something other than fear. She saw curiosity. It was a small thing, a tiny spark in a sea of terror. But it was something. As the humans were led to their quarters, surrounded by a silent escort that kept its distance. Jian allowed herself to feel the smallest bit of hope. The silence was not going to last forever. Something had to break it eventually. The session ended, but the humans did not leave the hall immediately. They stood on the platform, surrounded by the low hum of conversations in 100 languages. Most of the delegates were leaving, some casting curious glances over their shoulders as they went. Others deliberately avoided looking at the humans at all. High Arbiter Theseus approached them slowly. His silver skin rippled with colors that the translator could not interpret. When he spoke, his voice was quieter than before, meant only for them. "You have won a battle," he said, "but the war for acceptance will take much longer. Many still fear you. Some will never stop fearing you. You must be patient." Ambassador Yun Jian nodded. "We understand. We did not expect this to be easy." "No," Theseus agreed. "Nothing worth having is ever easy." He paused, his many eyes studying her face. "Your captain spoke well. He said things I have not heard in 3 centuries of service. Perhaps there is something different about your species after all." With that, he turned and walked away, his silver form disappearing into the crowds. Dr. Bei Yunji suddenly pointed toward one of the exits. "Look," she said softly. A small figure was moving toward them through the thinning crowd. It was the young alien who had fainted during their first meeting, the one with the delicate wings. It approached slowly, its body trembling slightly, but it did not run away. "My name is Pell," the young alien said. Its voice was soft and musical. "I am Kathrani. I wanted to—" It stopped, seeming to struggle for words. "I wanted to thank you for helping me. When I fell, everyone ran away. But your doctor stayed. She protected me." Yunji knelt down so she was at eye level with Pell. "How are you feeling now?" "Better," Pell said. "Scared, still, but better." Its wings fluttered nervously. "You really are from a Category 7 world?" "Yes." "And you really crossed all that space just to meet us?" "Yes." Pell was quiet for a moment. Then it did something unexpected. It reached out one of its small limbs and touched Yunji's hand. The touch was brief, barely a second, but it meant something. Jian could see it in the way the other aliens in the hall suddenly stopped and stared. "Maybe you are not monsters," Pell said quietly. "Maybe the stories are wrong." "Maybe they are," Yunji agreed gently. Pell turned and hurried away, disappearing into a group of other Kathrani who were waiting for it. They surrounded the young alien protectively, but several of them looked back at the humans with something other than fear in their eyes. Counselor Yeveth approached next. The old alien moved slowly, leaning heavily on its staff, but there was warmth in its expression. "You have done well," Yeveth said. "Better than I expected. But do not mistake survival for victory. The Coalition may have lost this vote, but they will be watching, waiting for you to make a mistake. You must be perfect in everything you do." "That is a heavy burden," Captain Park Doyen said. "Yes," Yeveth agreed. "But you chose to carry it when you crossed the stars. Now you must prove that choice was the right one." The old alien looked at each of them in turn. "I believe it was. The belief alone cannot save you. Only your actions will do that." Yeveth nodded once and walked away. The humans were finally let out of the hall by their escort. The corridors were less crowded now, but they still drew stares wherever they went. Jia noticed something different, though. Some of the aliens they passed did not look away. Some even nodded, a gesture that felt almost like respect. They returned to their quarters to find a message waiting for them. The council had approved the construction of a permanent human embassy on Valanthos Prime. A small section of the station would be modified to accommodate human needs. It was a beginning. Lieutenant Kang Samwu immediately began composing a message to send back to Earth. It would take weeks to arrive, even with their fastest communication methods. But eventually, humanity would know. They were not alone. And they had been given a chance. As evening fell, Jian found Captain Do-hyun standing at the observation deck. The massive window stretched from floor to ceiling, showing the endless dance of ships and stars beyond. Lights from 100 worlds sparkled in the darkness. "You spoke well today," she said, joining him at the window. Do-hyun shook his head slightly. "I spoke the truth. Anyone could have done it." "No," Jian said. "Not anyone. You believed what you were saying. They could hear it in your voice. That is what moved them." They stood in silence for a moment, watching a massive transport ship glide past. It was covered in symbols from a dozen different species, all working together. "Do you think we can really do this?" Do-hyun asked quietly. "Earn their trust? Become part of their community?" "I do not know," Jian admitted. "But I know we have to try. For everyone back on Earth who dreamed of this moment. For everyone who will never know what we found here. We have to try." The door behind them opened, and the rest of the team entered. Security Chief Han Taiwan was carrying a container of food from the station's kitchens, carefully selected to be safe for human consumption. Dr. Bae Yoonji was still looking at data from her medical scanner, fascinated by what she was learning about alien biology. Lieutenant Sunwoo was smiling, having just finished his message to Earth. They gathered together at the window, 5 humans standing at the edge of a galaxy that had finally noticed them. "What happens now?" Taiwan asked. "Now we work," Jian said. "We learn. We help where we can. We make friends one at a time, one small act of kindness at a time. And slowly, very slowly, we prove that the stories about Deathworlders are not the only stories that can be told." "That could take generations," Yinji said. "Yes," Jian agreed. "It will, but we are humans. We are patient when we need to be. We endure when we have to. And we never, ever give up." She looked at her team. "This is just the beginning. But it is a good beginning." Outside the window, a new ship was approaching the station. It was small and sleek, painted in colors they did not recognize. Another species coming to see the newcomers from the impossible world. Another chance to make a connection. The chamber had fallen silent when humanity arrived. But as the delegation walked the corridors that night, they passed small groups of aliens who nodded, who stepped aside not in fear but in acknowledgement. Some even spoke greetings, strange words that the translators turned into simple phrases of welcome. The silence was breaking, and in its place, something new was beginning. Far away, on a small blue world orbiting an ordinary yellow star, 8 billion people went about their lives without knowing that everything had changed. But someday, they would know. Someday, the ships would arrive. Someday, the stars would open to them, and they would walk among wonders they could barely imagine. For now, 5 humans stood at a window. Looking out at infinity, they had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Grand Assembly Hall was even more crowded than before. Every seat was filled, and more aliens stood along the walls and in the aisles. News drones floated through the air, broadcasting the proceedings to every corner of the galaxy. This was the most watched event in Council history. Ambassador Yoon Ji-yeon walked to the central platform with her team beside her. She could feel the weight of thousands of eyes pressing down on her. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Anger, determination. The coalition had done its work well. Fleet Admiral Virac stood on the opposite side of the platform. He was massive, easily 3 meters tall, with armor-like skin the color of dark iron. His eyes burned with cold fury. Behind him stood representatives from the 11 other species in his coalition. They looked at the humans the way soldiers look at enemies. High Arbiter Theseus raised a limb for silence. The hall went quiet. This emergency session has been called to address the question of human presence in Council space, Thisness announced. Fleet Admiral Varax will present the case for expulsion. Ambassador Yoon will respond. The Council will then vote. Varax stepped forward. His voice was deep and hard, filling the hall without effort. 8,000 years ago, we faced extinction. A death-world species called the Wraith Tide rose from their poison planet and looked upon our civilization with hungry eyes. They did not see neighbors. They did not see friends. They saw prey. He paused, letting the word hang in the air. Billions died before we stopped them. Entire species were erased from existence. Worlds were burned to ash. And now, after millennia of peace, another death-world species stands before us. Another predator asking to be let inside our walls. He gestured toward the humans. Look at them. They survived a world that should have killed them. They evolved from hunters who chased their prey until it died from exhaustion. They breathe poison. They heal from wounds that would kill any of us. They have crossed the void between stars, not because they needed to escape, but because they wanted to. His voice rose. And you ask us to believe they come in peace? You ask us to trust that this time will be different? Murmurs of agreement rippled through the hall. Varax raised his massive arm for silence. I have studied their history, he continued. I have seen the records they themselves broadcast into space. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that could destroy planets. Conflicts over land, over resources, over ideas. They are barely out of their caves, and already they have nearly destroyed themselves a dozen times. He turned to face the assembly directly. The Wraith Tide seemed peaceful at first. They spoke of trade and friendship. And when we welcomed them, they consumed us. I say we learn from history. I say we remove this threat before it grows too strong to stop. Applause broke out in several sections of the hall. Varax stepped back, his eyes burning with satisfaction. Thisness looked at the humans. Ambassador Yoon, you may respond. Jian started to move forward, but Captain Park Do-hyun gently touched her arm. She looked at him, surprised. Let me, he said quietly. Before she could object, Do-hyun walked to the center of the platform. He was not tall. He was not imposing. He was just a man in a simple uniform, standing alone before an entire galaxy. Fleet Admiral Varax is right about our history, Do-hyun began. His voice was calm and steady. We have fought wars. We have killed each other. We have done terrible things. He paused. We have also done something else. We have chosen to be better. The hall was quiet now, listening. Every horror in our history was a choice, Do-hyun continued. Every war was started by someone who decided to harm instead of help. Every weapon was built by someone who chose destruction over creation. But every peace was also a choice. Every hospital, every school, every hand extended in friendship. We are not prisoners of our nature. We are not slaves to our evolution. We are beings capable of choice. And we have chosen to be here, standing before you, asking for the chance to prove what we can become. He looked up at the thousands of faces watching him. Yes, we are dangerous. Yes, we are strong. But strength without purpose is nothing. When our world has faced disasters, we have sent help across oceans to rescue strangers we would never meet. When our people have been trapped in collapsed buildings, we have dug through rubble with our bare hands until we found them. When our ships have sunk in frozen waters, we have jumped into the cold to save lives that were not our own. Lieutenant Kang Sunwoo activated his console. Holographic images appeared in the air above the platform. Images of humans helping each other. Rescue workers pulling survivors from earthquakes. Doctors treating patients in war zones. Firefighters carrying children from burning buildings. Strangers forming human chains to rescue drowning swimmers. These are the choices we make every day, Diane said. Not because we had to, not because it was easy, but because it was right. He turned to face Varax directly. You are afraid of what we could do with our strength. I understand that fear. It is reasonable, but I ask you to consider what we have already done with it. We could have come here with weapons. We came with open hands. We could have demanded tribute. We asked for friendship. We could have hidden our violent history. We showed it to you openly, because we believe that honesty is the foundation of trust. The hall was absolutely silent now. Even Varax was still. Dahyun's voice softened. We did not cross the stars because we wanted to conquer. We crossed them because we looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. We dreamed of meeting other minds, other hearts, other souls who had asked the same questions we asked. Are we alone? That question has haunted us for as long as we have been able to think. And now we are here, standing in a room full of thousands of species, and we have our answer. We are not alone. And that is the most beautiful thing we have ever discovered. A sound came from somewhere in the hall. It was Counselor Yeveth, slowly rising from its seat. The old alien walked toward the platform, its staff tapping against the floor with each step. May I speak? Yeveth asked. Theseus nodded. Yeveth turned to face the assembly. I have lived for 230 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species join our council and leave it. I have learned that fear is a poor guide for making decisions. The old alien looked at the humans. These beings frightened me when I first saw them. But I went to their quarters last night. I sat with them. I spoke with them. And do you know what I found? The hall waited. I found people, Yeveth said simply. Not monsters. Not predators. Just people. Confused and hopeful and scared, just like us. They did not know if we would welcome them or destroy them. They came anyway. That is not the act of a conqueror. That is the act of a dreamer. The counselor turned to face Varax. You ask us to judge them by the worst of their history. I ask us to judge them by their courage. They walked into a room full of beings who feared them, and they did not raise a hand in anger. They offered healing. They offered truth. They offered hope. Yeveth walked back to its seat and sat down heavily. Is there any other who wishes to speak? Theseus asked. Silence. The High Arbiter straightened. Then we shall vote. All those in favor of expelling humanity from council space indicate now. Lights began to appear throughout the hall as delegates voted. Red lights for expulsion. Jian watched them spread through the assembly, her heart sinking with each new one. There were so many. All those against expulsion. Theseus continued. Blue lights appeared. Slowly at first, then faster. Sections of the hall that had been dark began to glow with color. Blue and red mixing together like a strange ocean dot. The voting continued for long minutes. The humans stood together on the platform, watching, waiting, hoping. Finally, the last vote was cast. Theseus studied the results on his display. His many eyes moved back and forth as he calculated. The vote is complete, he announced. By a margin of 53% to 47%, the motion to expel humanity is defeated. Jian felt her knees go weak. She grabbed Dahyun's arm to steady herself. Around her, her team was frozen in shock. Humanity is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. Theseus continued. This status will be reviewed in 1 standard year. During this time, humans will be expected to demonstrate their commitment to peaceful cooperation. Scattered applause broke out. Much of the hall remained silent. Varax turned and walked out without a word, his coalition following behind him. It was not a celebration. It was not a triumph. But it was a chance, and for now, that was enough.